Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was the apprentice of the Sith Lord. Sidious killed Darth Plagueis. That is all we know. But what if the Sith Lord did not go quietly like Sidious thought? What if his spirit lived? What if he found a new apprentice in the form of one Uzumaki Naruto? What if he found the perfect apprentice? Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard! Chapter 1: The New Apprentice. The spirit of Darth Plagueis the Wise cursed his treacherous student Darth Sidious for the man's betrayal and killing his master in his sleep. It was not something the man had even expected from his Sith apprentice so soon, and yet that was probably the reason why Plagueis never saw it coming. It had infuriated the spirit of the Sith Lord to no end that he actually refused to become one with the Force like so many Sith and Jedi before him, like Sidious no doubt expected to happen. The plan the Sith Lord had been working on to create the perfect Force-attuned subject, who would be the perfect apprentice in Plagueis' mind to teach and learn even greater secrets the Force kept locked away. His only real mistake was informing Sidious of his plan to create such a person using the dark side to manipulate the midichlorians to form such an individual. In fact, Plagueis had been in deep mediation when his apprentice struck, as he was in the final stages of such a child being created in the womb of an untouched woman, who the Sith Lord suspected had to be untouched by another in order for the midichlorians to create such a child. While Sidious was taught how to manipulate the midichlorians, the Sith apprentice, now master in accordance with the rule of two, did not possess the necessary skill to do it himself, and would not be able to duplicate the process. Still, it didn't mean Sidious could not find the child once born, and use for his own means to continue the Sith way. Plagueis had surmised that Sidious would try to find the child in the future, as a way to spite his former master, and further cut ties between them like all Sith apprentices did their masters when they became the master. However, Darth Plagueis wasn't about to go quietly like his foolish apprentice thought he would, and moved quickly to the nearby planet below his ship just before Sidious took control of it. Plagueis had seen through his spirit form how Sidious had destroyed his still strong immune body with Sith lightning before throwing it out the airlock to burn up in the planet's atmosphere. As for the spirit of the Sith Lord, he knew it was only a matter of time before he would become one with Force, and that was not something Plagueis wanted anytime soon. The only way the Sith Lord could continue existing was to inhabit a body strong in the Force, or at least had potential to become strong in the Force with enough training. Plagueis had known possessing Sidious was out of the question, as his student had become too strong in the dark side to turn, and only hasten the Sith Lord into a true death. Again, it wasn't something Plagueis wanted, and he wasn't foolish enough to try given the fact Sidious basically knew everything he knew. Though it didn't mean Sidious knew how to use everything taught to him by Plagueis. Traveling down to the planet, Plagueis found himself in a primitive world with not much technological wonder, but with plenty of human life, yet each one weak in the Force, or with no Force potential at all. It was silently infuriating to the Sith Lord that this would be his reward for training Sidious and the Force itself, stranding his spirit here on a planet where the Force was not strong enough to give him a potential host. Until he stumbled upon something interesting in a forest area being drenched in heavy rainfall and sensed his search for a host body was coming to an end. The potential host in question was the form of a small human child, possibly 6 standard years old, crying his eyes out over something, and was a bit malnourished from the fact the boy was skinnier than he should be at his age. Lousy people. Hating me. Calling me a demon. It's not fair. Why am I hated by them? Why? Said the boy with blonde hair and blue eyes that had an intensity to them. Interesting. I think I should investigate this boy's potential, thought Plagueis, as he had moved closer to the boy, and sensed the Force was strong in him compared to the other candidates he had seen. Upon entering the boy's body, the Sith Lord soon found himself within the child's mind, which looked damp like a sewer with red pipes mixing with blue ones all around him, the massive walls. The stench from the smell of it all made the swamp regions of Nal Hudis seem pleasant, and the Sith Lord had to use his powers to enhance his sight to see through the infinite darkness that surrounded him. The water rippled when he moved in his now solid body, as he found the Force was strong enough in here to give him a stronger form, and knew this boy would be his chosen vessel. However, that line of thought ended when a growl was heard behind him from a large animal, and the vile energy the Sith Lord sensed from the large creature made him turn to face it.
"What are you doing here in my vessel's mind, insect? You are not welcome here,"
said the animal, which the Sith Lord had determined was a vulpine-class creature, and had 9 swishing tails with crimson eyes glaring at him.
"Your vessel? You are mistaken.
This boy is to become my new host," said Plagueis, with the vulpine creature becoming increasingly angry by this news.
"Be gone.
This is my vessel and I will not have some strange creature like you take what is mine to manipulate,"
said QB before he charged the Sith Lord, and Plagueis moved nimbly out of way of the vulpine now attempting to maim him.
Plagueis countered with the force, pushing the QB back, but all it did was stall the fox from achieving its goal, and the Sith Lord knew it would only be a matter of time before the vulpine creature overpowered him. Reaching out to the force for an answer to this problem, the Sith Lord looked quickly to his right, seeing what possibly looked like a doorway of that was shut, but had bars for doors, and given his own body structure could slip between the bars to escape. The QB sensed Darth Plagueis' plan seconds before the Sith Lord ran for the door and moved to intercept the Mune to prevent the intruder from escaping. Using the force to accelerate his speed, Plagueis knew this was going to close, as he would either escape this prison, or be a temporary roommate to its current occupant. I only have one chance at this, thought Darth Plagueis, as he leaped forward, using the force to jump much farther than someone of his species ever could, and managed to get through the bars to the other side while QB's claws barely missed him.
"You will not get away with this,"
said QB, howling in rage at this intruder.
"I already have vulpine creature.
Though you being in this boy is a curiosity to me," said Plagueis, turning around, the swishing of his Sith robe echoing through the large area, and seeing the red eyes filled with hate from the QB aimed at him. "You are not human, and yet, you wield a power not unlike the Sage of Six Paths did all those years ago," said QB, seeing Plagueis frown at him from behind his hood.
"Sage of Six Paths?
Never heard of him," said Plagueis, with QB frowning at the Sith Lord now.
"Really? That is surprising.
From what I recall, he was a lot like you, only his power wasn't so dark, and he was much more noble," said QB, seeing Plagueis frown even further. "This Sage of Six Paths sounds like a Jedi," said Plagueis, with the QB now leaning down with its face in front of the cage. "You make it sound like this potential Jedi was your opposite," said QB, intrigued by this development. "If he was a Jedi, then yes, Vulpine one, the man was in fact my opposite, and we would have been enemies," said Plagueis, with the QB laughing slightly. "If the Sage of the Six Paths was in fact a Jedi, then who are you, and what is your exact title?"
said QB, with a smile on its face.
"I am Darth Plagueis, Dark Lord of the Sith," said Plagueis, bowing slightly in front of the fox.
"Ah. Opposite indeed. Why the sudden interest in my vessel?" said QB, as the Sith Lord looked around the area that was Naruto's mind, and was clearly not impressed by the scenery. "I need him in order to survive and cheat death, if only for a time," said Plagueis, before telling the QB his tale about the Force, Sidious being his apprentice, and the betrayal of that apprentice killing him while he slept, leading to this point in time. Ah. Not the death you were hoping for. Still, at least you entered here by choice. I was put here against my will after being sealed away 2 times previously, and in this one's own family no less," said QB, before explaining the history of the world from the Sage of Six Paths to Chakra, the forming of the tailed beasts, and the Jinchuriki of the elemental countries that were hated by their very creators while being used as weapons of war. "Interesting.
A Jedi came to this world, discovered the 10-tailed demon, fought it with all his power of the Force, and somehow managed to seal it into himself. No doubt he tried to share his knowledge of the Force with the people of this world, but it changed into this chakra, and thus became a warped perversion of it. That is what I sensed from the people of this world when I came down here and saw so little potential in the people when I was looking for a host. Still, it doesn't fully explain how this child has the potential to use the Force and chakra at the same time," said Plagueis, with his mind trying to figure it out. "I think I know," said QB at last, with the Sith Lord turning to face him.
"How?"
said Plagueis, before QB merely smiled.
"Use your power to check the boy's lineage."
"I think the answer will become clear upon learning just who he's descended from," said QB, with Plagueis closing his eyes for a second and reached out through the Force to scan the boy's genetic makeup passed down from parent to child.
Until finally, Plagueis saw it. Impossible. The boy is, said Plagueis before looking at the grinning Kyuubi. Yes. The boy is a direct bloodline descendant of the Sage of Six Paths. The Jedi who first came to this world and became the very first Jinchuriki, said Kyuubi, seeing the Sith Lord's mind moving miles a minute at this latest development. Of course. It makes sense this boy's force potential would be the highest of the people of this world. However, it is wasted here in this village from what you've explained with the abuse he suffered, and will continue to suffer if we don't act quickly, said Plagueis with the fox nodding. What do you propose? Said Kyuubi, seeing the Sith Lord smirk for a second behind his hooded Sith robes. Simple. We turn this weak boy that is your vessel into a Sith Lord of incredible power and have him become ruler of this world. He will become our true legacy, said Plagueis, knowing there was no way off the planet, so he might as well continue the legacy he had tried to continue with Sidious, and upon training his new apprentice correctly, leave to become one with the Force. I like the sound of that. I like that a lot, said Kyuubi before they began to formulate their plan to mold this boy into the world's future emperor. With Naruto. Naruto felt himself getting sleepy, but fought against it so he could be alert for any kind of attack aimed at him, since it wasn't the first time that happened, and had developed an almost instinctual sixth sense when it came to being alert to danger. In fact, Naruto had a feeling about people since before he could walk, as he didn't trust what little food given to him to be healthy, or not poisoned by the people in the orphanage that had just recently kicked him out into this rainstorm. Lousy jerks. They'll get theirs when I become Hokage and I order them to do humiliating things like clean dirty toilets those fat guys from that one clan use near that barbecue place, thought Naruto, feeling his eyelids get heavier until finally the need to sleep won over the need to be alert. He's here, said Kyuubi, seeing the boy slowly get up from the water-covered ground that was his mind and look around. Where am I? Said Naruto, the cage with the fox behind it. In your mind, my vessel, said the Kyuubi, seeing the boy walk closer to the cage and stop suddenly before taking a step back just out of reach of the fox's claws. Something tells me I shouldn't move any closer, said Naruto before Kyuubi shot its claws forward and barely missed the boy. That something was correct. The Sith Lord was right. The Force is strong with you, said Kyuubi, with Naruto scratching his head in confusion. Sith Lord? The Force? What are you talking about? Who are you? What is going on? Said Naruto, with the Kyuubi laughing at him. You are a curious one. Always asking questions, yet people never give you answers, and if they do, they are only lies. I sense you thirst for knowledge about yourself and other things beyond your current grasp, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto frown at him. So, what if I am? There is nothing wrong with wanting to learn stuff. And you didn't even answer my questions, said Naruto, seeing Kyuubi laugh again. Quite right. You're an observant boy. I'll give you that much. In case you can't tell, I am Kyuubi no Kitsune, and you, dear boy, are my vessel, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto was shocked by this news. So that's why they hate me. That's why they call me a demon. Because of you, said Naruto, seeing the Kyuubi nod. They think I am you. Or is it they think you are me? Doesn't matter. What matters right now is your future, boy. Correction, our future, since our lives are tied together thanks to the Yondaime sealing me into you, and the Sandaime Hokage blabbing to the people about it, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto look at him with surprise and shock. What? The old man told them? But, why tell them if they're just going to hate me? Why didn't he tell me from the start? Said Naruto, with the Kyuubi shrugging. Why indeed? You can ask him in the future should time permit it, but for now, my dear boy, such a question must be put on hold, and your attention refocused on the question of what you wish to do with your life. Life, said Kyuubi, seeing the boy look lost. I don't know. Everyone hates me. I can't go to the old man because of, well, you being in my body and him not telling me after all the stuff I went through. I basically have no one in the village I can turn to for help, said Naruto, with the fox nodding in agreement. True. Which is why you're not going to get help from anyone in the village, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto once more looking at him. But, who will teach me then? Said Naruto, seeing the Kyuubi grin at him before looking over at the wall where Plagueis was watching the conversation between them. That my young apprentice would be me, said Plagueis, with Naruto screaming out in fright and turned to see the Sith Lord now standing a few feet from him. Who are you? Said Naruto, seeing the robed figure smirk slightly at him. I am Darth Plagueis. From this day forward until told otherwise, you my dear boy will be my student, and I will your teacher. When learning from me, you will address me as master, and I will address you as apprentice until the time is right for you to be given a Sith name, said Plagueis, seeing Naruto look at him with surprise. You're really going to teach me? Really? This isn't some cruel trick, right? Said Naruto, with Kyuubi shaking his head no to indicate it wasn't a cruel trick. No. This is not a trick. When a Sith Lord takes on a Sith apprentice, he makes sure that the apprentice has the potential to one day surpass the master, and you Naruto have that potential. When you aren't learning from me, Kyuubi here will teach you about chakra, and what you need to know about the world. When the time comes, I will ask you to complete a test that will determine if my time spent training you was worth the effort, or wasted on a weak spineless child, said Plagueis, while sensing the boy was determined to prove him wrong. Wrong. I'll prove myself worthy. Make no mistake, I'll pass whatever test you throw at me, and I'll be the best apprentice you've ever had, said Naruto, since he didn't realize the Sith were founded on the rule of two, or that Plagueis only had one other Sith apprentice. You have no idea just how right you are, my new apprentice. You have no idea, thought Plagueis, while looking slightly over at Kyuubi, and the fox was already grinning an evil smile for the enemy that seemed to haunt the creature's mind. Whatever this enemy was, the Sith Lord knew that the Kyuubi would use this boy to kill that foe, and Plagueis would assist in that endeavor, since Vulpine creature's enemy was now theirs. I have a question, Master. How am I going to be trained without anyone knowing? The Hokage will suspect something after a while, said Naruto, seeing Plagueis smile at him. Leave that to me, child. For now, get some sleep, and tomorrow we will face this small problem together, said Plagueis, seeing Naruto nod, and went over to a more dry area of his mind to sleep. And for once wasn't facing horrible nightmares. He's right. The Hokage will be suspicious of him. Always has. Every Kage in every village has a special viewing orb and can find people in it if they know who to look for within the village, said Kyuubi, having spent more than enough time in the wives of the previous Hokages of Konoha to know enough about what they have in their office. As I told the boy, my friend, we will deal with it tomorrow, and not a minute sooner, said Plagueis, before deciding to explore the child's mind and see what else was here. Hokage Tower the next day. When Naruto woke up from his nap in the woods, the weather had cleared, and the only signs of the rainstorm hitting was the wet terrain around him. At first, the boy thought the whole thing that happened in meeting Kyuubi, then Darth Plagueis, was just a dream his mind thought up to combat the nightmares that normally haunted and destroyed all his peaceful dreams. However, the idea of being a dream was shattered by the voice of Darth Plagueis himself inside his head to end that line of thought, and was instructed by his new master/teacher to head for the Hokage Tower, where the Sandaime Hokage was residing. It wasn't easy to get there, given how the location Naruto was in had been on the far side of the village away from the actual structure, and then there was the people in the leaf to contend with, since they'd sooner be blocking his path than help him. Darth Plagueis knew this too, as he didn't need the force to sense the hatred these people had for Naruto, and the boy wasn't even in their line of sight when sneaking to the tower. When Naruto did make to the tower, more importantly to the doors leading to the Hokage, the secretary was the only one capable of beeping him in, and sadly she was among many in the leaf that liked him. She was more inclined to sell him out to assassins or a coup should he ever become the Hokage of Konoha. What do you want, monster? Said the woman, glaring at him. I'm here to see the Hokage. It's important, said Naruto, but the woman smirked at him, and just went about working on her nails. Sorry. He's backed up with meetings all day. Come back later, said the woman, which wasn't true in the slightest, but she was 100% sure he didn't know that, and had no way to disprove her. Frowning, Naruto concentrated on using the force like Plagueis had been doing on their way here to sense the occupants of the Hokage's office,
and found it was just the old man in there. He also sensed the woman was lying, as her personal thoughts about him being alive practically being screamed from within her head, and would never let him in unless someone with considerable weight to see the Hokage was with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. "You're lying," said Naruto with the woman turning her head to glare at him. "Keep your filthy demon mouth shut. I'm the Hokage's secretary, and if I say he's busy then he's busy. Now get lost or I'll have the ANBU throw you out," said the woman, who saw Naruto frown further at her, and she didn't like it one bit. "Prove he's busy." "Knock on the door and tell him I'm here," said Naruto, following the Sith Lord's instructions, with the woman looking ready to explode at him and saw her eyes ready to strike his face. "Steady, my apprentice. Your timing must be perfect," said Plagueis inside Naruto's head while testing the boy's ability to think on his feet while using the force. "Disrespectful brat," said the woman as she swung her hand down to slap him hard and hopefully snap his neck. "And now," thought Naruto, as he used the force to dodge the swing and press the button that unlocked the door mechanism that kept the door locked. He sensed the mean lady used the moment he asked to see the Hokage before rushing for the door. "Stop him. Stop the demon from reaching the Hokage," said the woman with the ANBU guarding the door, getting ready to attack the child. When Naruto got close enough, he dove under the one ANBU's legs, used the force to turn the doorknob of the door all the way, and kicked it hard to open with a loud BAM sound while skidding into the room. Getting up off the ground, Naruto quickly dodged a shuriken and kunai before diving for the Hokage's desk. "What is the meaning of this?" said the Sandaime sternly at the ANBU entering the room with weapons in hand. "Hokage-sama, the boy tried to enter unlawfully, and we assumed he was going to assassinate you," said one of the ANBU, who had a bear mask on and glaring at Naruto behind it. "Do you assume me to be weak, bear?" said the Sandaime, seeing the younger man shake his head. No, Hokage-sama, but the boy, he is still dangerous," said Bear with his fellow guard nodding in agreement. "He's not the one in here brandishing weapons," said the Sandaime with the two ANBU quickly putting them away. "Our apologize, Hokage-sama. We will just grab the boy and then escort him out," said the ANBU with the crane mask. "No. The boy will stay." "You will leave," said the Hokage with the ANBU looking at each other. "But sir, the boy cannot be trusted," said Bear, but the look in the Sandaime's eyes told him to shut up and listen his leader. "I'll decide whether Naruto can be trusted or not. Now get out of here before I have you both demoted," said the Sandaime with both men leaving, though Naruto could sense they were less than pleased. "Thanks, old man," said Naruto with a smile, though it left when the Hokage gave him a stern look telling the boy he didn't approve. "Naruto, why are you here? You should be back at the orphanage like a good boy," said the Sandaime while Kyuubi scoffed in the boy's head. "You mean like a good punching bag," said Kyuubi with Plagueis nodding in agreement to that statement. "But I don't want to go back. They kicked me out last night in the middle of the rainstorm and I was deprived of food the whole day," said Naruto before his stomach let out a loud growl. "I see. I didn't know that," said the Sandaime simply, but in Naruto's mind, the Sith Lord knew that wasn't true, and knew this man wasn't that easy to fool. "Follow my words exactly, my apprentice. Today's lesson is about learning on how to deceive and use manipulation to get what you want out of people," said Plagueis, as he told Naruto what to say, and Kyuubi just grinned at how this was going to turn out. "Old man, I overheard one of the people at the orphanage talking about me, but I didn't really understand it, and maybe you could," said Naruto with the Sandaime looking at him with a raised eyebrow. "How do you know they were talking about you, Naruto?" said the Sandaime with the boy fidgeting a bit. "Well, they always call me Demon Brat, and one of them told the other not to say that when I'm around since they didn't want me to link it to the Kyuubi for some reason. They also mentioned provoking Kyuubi and teaching the Kyuubi a lesson by going after his human body along with some other stuff I couldn't hear," said Naruto, seeing the Hokage scowl at this. "Those idiots. I told them not to do anything that could jeopardize the boy's conditioning to being a loyal weapon to the village," thought the Sandaime while Plagueis picked up the line of thought to hold for later. "I was thinking maybe I should have my own home. Away from the villagers that only you know about and could check up on every once in a while, said Naruto, with the old man looking like the idea would put a hamper on his plans.
I don't know, Naruto. How will you eat?
I just can't. You hunt for food, said the Hokage, seeing Naruto frown at him. At least the food I eat in the forest won't be moldy like the people running the orphanage give me. And there will be a lot more to eat too, said Naruto, seeing the Hokage letting out a sigh while Plagueis knew the old man was trying not to lose his patience. Naruto, you being alone is not healthy for you, and I can't in good conscience put you in that situation, said the Sandaime Hokage, which made Naruto become angry at him, and it was surprising for the Hokage to see such anger in a child aimed at him. Why? At least being alone is better than being hated, beaten, starved, and treated like I'm a nobody.
You think that way too, don't you? You're just like them,
said Naruto, now crying and pointing an accusing finger at the Hokage.
No, Naruto, I'm not, but, you see, Naruto, I, said the Sandaime, seeing mixture of emotions swirling in the boy's blue eyes, and it was almost hypnotic. Please, old man. I'm not asking for much.
If I don't have my own place, I don't know what I'll do, said Naruto with an empty voice, and sensed the Sandaime was thinking this over. On one hand, it could ensure his loyalty to the Leaf in time, but given my own workload, I won't be able to keep an eye on him all the time like I can now, and there is no guarantee one of my shinobi won't make an attempt to kill Naruto if I assign them to guard the boy when he's there. I could have weasel watched the boy, given his Sharingan being developed enough to suppress the demon's chakra should the boy tap into it, and he can easily earn Naruto's trust providing food to him while report all the child's activities to me, thought the Sandaime before eyeing Naruto carefully. He's up to something, said Kyuubi, knowing the old Hokage wasn't about to let Naruto have his own place and not keep an eye on him.
All right, Naruto. I'll arrange some form of housing for you, but to ensure your protection I'm going to have one of most trusted ANBU watching over you, and providing food be delivered by him to your home, so looking for food will be unnecessary, said the Hokage while Naruto gave him a skeptical look.
Not the ones from earlier, I hope, said Naruto, with the Sandaime letting out a chuckle.
No, Naruto.
Someone much more skilled and nicer too, said the Sandaime, seeing the boy give him a cheesy smile at this news.
Thanks, old man. You're the best,
said Naruto while inside Plagueis was complimenting his student on a job well done in deceiving the old man.
I know, Naruto.
Now that you've given me an excuse to get away from all this dreaded paperwork, let's go out to eat, and then pick out a nice place for you to live in, said the Sandaime while Naruto played his part in being dumb like the old man thought he was.
Chapter 2, Passing the Test. For the next 2 years, life for Naruto had drastically improved, and yet it was still filled with hardship on account of his training under Darth Plagueis in the ways of the Force. It was not easy hiding the training from the ANBU codenamed Weasel on account of his choice in masks, since the Hokage had assigned the man for his protection, which the Sith Lord knew was false, and the shinobi really assigned spy on Naruto to make sure he didn't do anything dangerous. This was further proven by Kyuubi, who had informed with anger in his voice to the both parties that the one guarding the blonde was in fact an Uchiha, and had fully developed Sharingan eyes. Kyuubi further explained that the Uchiha clan's Sharingan eyes, when focused, had the ability to suppress demonic chakra, and could pose a problem later. Fortunately, as the 2 years progressed, the Sandaime had to divert the Uchiha's time away from Naruto to more important issues, and the blonde Sith apprentice pounced on all those opportunities to continue his force training. The boy had learned quickly under Plagueis, which the Sith Lord had found to be refreshing in a sense, since Sidious was never really like that, and would become frustrated with things he couldn't understand. Some of the things Plagueis had taught Sidious in his early years had been discarded by the young Sith, but Naruto had absorbed everything, and focused on how to use such skills to his benefit before he learned something else. In truth, Plagueis had found the ideal Sith apprentice in the form of Uzumaki Naruto, and had found that his young student was able to endure his harsh training, ironically thanks to the cruel treatment of the villagers responsible for placing such hardships on him from the start. Even Plagueis' own teachings, which he had used on Sidious, did little to impede the boy's progress in training under the Sith Lord, and only made the boy get better with each passing moment. Tell me what you regard as your greatest strength, so I will know how best to undermine you. Tell me of your greatest fear, so I will know which I must force you to face. Tell me what you cherish most, so I will know what to take from you, and tell me what you crave, so that I might deny you. Naruto's greatest strength was never giving up in the face of adversity. Naruto's greatest fear was failing his master any test placed before him. What Naruto cherished most was learning from both his teachers. What Naruto craved, well, not even the boy knew what that was considering his age, but there was something there, and for the moment was out of his reach. Still, Naruto wasn't interested in trying to fight for what he craved, knowing there was no point until he had the means to reach it, and decided to be patient. Sadly, for Naruto, that was one of his main weaknesses, as he had inherited his mother's impatience when she was a child, and at times it required a bit of an effort to calm him down when things rarely got frustrated. Another thing Naruto was beginning to experience through the Force as the 2 years of training progressed, were visions of the future when he slept, and found them to be a bit unusual if not disturbing. When Plagueis asked about them, Naruto said he saw the very Anbu, who was guarding him, walking towards a large fan-like symbol. The shinobi then pulled out his sword, and slashed it repeatedly until all that remained was a small tainted fragment. Kyuubi explained the fan symbol he saw in the vision belonged to the Uchiha clan, which the Anbu with the weasel mask belonged to, and the vision showed them being completely destroyed all the way down to a small handful. Maybe less than that. We must use this time to our advantage, Naruto. The day or night this happens, you will escape from the village, and head towards a country where we can continue our training. Having the ability to command the Force makes you strong, but I also need to teach you the various sword forms developed over the years used by Jedi, and Sith since we first took up such a weapon, said Plagueis, seeing Naruto nod, but given the situation that was going to happen with the Uchiha clan soon to be near extermination, escaping would be a challenge since every shinobi not keeping the village on lockdown would be hunting down Weasel, and the risk of them finding the Kyuubi Jinchuriki escaping would rise in the process. Another test? Thought Naruto, knowing that every command Plagueis gave was basically a test for him. Yes. Though there is another test you must undertake before completing the other one, my still very young apprentice, said Plagueis with Naruto looking curiously at him. What test, my master? Thought Naruto while the Sith Lord smiled at the boy knowing he was eager to prove himself. Your final test before I grant you a Sith name, said Plagueis, seeing Naruto's eyes widen in shock. What kind of test, master? Said Naruto, knowing this test would be a major step forward in advancing towards becoming a Sith Lord. A test forged in blood, death, and your revenge against those orphanage overseers that made life miserable for you, my apprentice, said Plagueis, seeing Naruto's face become filled with anger at the memories that came from his past experiences with the people there. And it wasn't just the adults either, as the kids his age, and the older ones, were cruel to him too. Laughing when they locked him dusty closets, beating him up after they talked Naruto into getting them extra food, and then pinning the theft on the Kyuubi vessel so he got beaten up even further. It made the Jinchuriki angry inside, which was what Plagueis wanted from Naruto, and kept the boy feeding on the dark side of the Force to remove any kind of guilt over what was going to happen in the near future. I'm ready, master, thought Naruto while kneeling in his mind in front of the Sith Lord's throne in the room the Mun had the boy create to replace the sewer it had once been. No. Not yet. First, you need to learn some jutsus to further improve your arsenal in that field. And there is also the matter of throwing off any pursuers once the Sandaime Hokage knows you've fled, said Plagueis, knowing his apprentice was ambitious, but had to learn patience, and when to take his tests fully prepared. What about a clone jutsu? There are so many of them I could use. Thought Naruto with Plagueis smiling at his promising apprentice, eager to pass any test before him and always thinking several steps ahead even if it's on his feet. Clever boy. However, there is only one true clone jutsu out there that is designed for someone of your situation, and very few know it without going to the source of where such a scroll is located, said Kyuubi with Plagueis turning to face the fox. What scroll is that? Said Plagueis with a raised eyebrow. The Forbidden Scroll of Sealing. All of Konoha's most powerful jutsus since the days of the village's founding are written in that scroll. What you are looking for would be the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which makes solid clones of the original user, and everything the Shadow Clones learn, you learn, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto's eyes light up. I could learn from you too in half the time. Over a month's worth of training done in a single day, thought Naruto with Plagueis, realizing the same thing. But how do we get the scroll? Or to a lesser extent of not getting it, How do we find a proper teacher in the art to show you, and work from there?
Such an item is no doubt heavily guarded in the Hokage's office, as he would be its assigned guardian given it holds all the village's secrets, and those that do know it won't exactly be forthcoming in teaching you.
We will have to make someone teach you, said Plagueis, knowing that was the safest route for Naruto at the moment to prevent the Hokage from ruining their plans for freedom. Who would know such a dangerous jutsu aside from the Hokage himself? Thought Naruto while letting out a frustrated sigh. Just use the force to guide you, Kit. Find your answers that way, said Kyuubi, seeing Naruto smirking at the fox. You're right. Thanks, Kyuubi, thought Naruto before using the force to find his answer, and was surprised to once more see the weasel mask Anbu making a copy of himself with ease. What do you see, my apprentice? Said Plagueis while Naruto frowned in thought over what the force was showing him. I think the force is telling me to learn it from Weasel, thought Naruto while not understanding answer the force was giving him. Learning from a member of the Uchiha clan. It turns my stomach. He could hold it over you in exchange for some kind of favor. Those born of the Uchiha clan cannot be trusted, said Kyuubi, feeling his rage flaring within Naruto's body. I agree, but we know that this particular person is going to do something horrible, and we use that knowledge against him, said Plagueis, already forming a plan for the next time Weasel came by to watch over him. Several days later. Some fresh fruit was added in today's menu of food I purchased for you, Naruto-san, said Weasel, as he handed Naruto a bag of food, and looked at the nearly 8-year-old boy in front of him. The blonde boy had long since lost the signs of malnutrition thanks to the choice of foods the weasel-masked Anbu brought him, as well as the little burst of Kyuubi's chakra when the shinobi wasn't around, and even then, the man suspected the fox had done something to accelerate the boy's recovery. Of course, the Anbu could have reported this to the Hokage, but it wasn't really fair to the boy since all the fox did was heal him of any kind of physical problems, and thus didn't require the third's attention. In a way, Weasel had secretly cursed the Sandaime for this assignment, not because he hated the boy, which he didn't, but because the old Hokage was partially responsible for setting everything that led up to this in motion, and Weasel once more wished the Yondaime Hokage was alive to run the leaf. The Uchiha clan was causing problems, which couldn't be solved by peaceful talks, and was distracting him from his current mission to watch the boy properly like the Sandaime Hokage ordered. Granted, the shadow clone jutsu allowed him to be in two places at once, but it only lasted so long, and a strong enough hit to the shadow clone would cause it to disperse. If that happened, red flags would be raised by his family on why he was using that jutsu instead of being there with his family, and question his loyalty to the point where the mission he would have to undertake in the next couple of months could possibly fail. Thanks, Weasel-san. You're much better at being a shinobi than those other guys with masks, said Naruto with his fake happy smile in place while Weasel moved his head slightly to the right. Really? How so? Said Weasel, wondering what the boy saw through his eyes. Oh, they kind of flaunt their position sometimes, trying to pick up women, and basically get laid as they joke with each other. I don't see you doing that, said Naruto, knowing the Anbu in front of him was known for making conversation and yet needed it from the man all the same. That is foolish of them. They risk the leaf's security with their identities being exposed by potential spies, said Weasel, shaking his head disapprovingly at the idea. Tell me, Weasel-san, why are you going to kill your clan? Said Naruto, as his voice had become deadly serious, and made the Anbu go on full alert. How does he know that? Thought Weasel, as he saw Naruto suddenly shift and become something dangerous. Something deadly. I can read your thoughts, Itachi. I know what you are going to do. I have foreseen it, said Naruto, calling upon the dark side of the force to do what he commanded. So, you know. How exactly? Said Itachi before removing his weasel mask and looking the boy dead in the eye with Sharingan activated. That would be telling, but if the rest of your clan was alerted to your betrayal, things would get out of hand, and that's not your style, said Naruto with a cruel smile on his face. Is this the Kyuubi's influence? Thought Itachi, not sensing any of Kyuubi's chakra from the seal, yet he sensed there was something around the boy. Hardly. Yes, I know about the Kyuubi and I know about the conspiracy against me, said Naruto with Itachi's eyes widening slightly in surprise. Conspiracy? said Itachi with Naruto frowning and the Uchiha sensing the strange dark energy swirling around the boy that gave him a more menacing form for one so young. Do you think I'm a fool, Uchiha Itachi? I've known since before you were even assigned to watch me. I've known how the old man has deliberately screwed me over to have his own personal weapon for the village by leaving my life to the wolves before bringing it back up marginally so in case I do go crazy he can put me down without a shred of guilt to his conscience, said Naruto seeing Itachi frowning at him. I don't believe you, said Itachi with Naruto letting out a chuckle. I don't expect you to, but then again you don't want to believe an almost 8-year-old kid, who has had no shinobi training as far as you know currently has information about the plan to liquidate the Uchiha clan, and at the hands of one of its own no less, said Naruto with Itachi looking away from him to calculate things in his head. What is it you want? You clearly let me know that you know what I have been ordered to do in order to receive something in return for your silence, said Itachi seeing the boy smirk. You are not the only one who is going to do something, which will be considered bad in the next couple months, and then be forced to flee soon after. I need you to train me in the use of one jutsu in your arsenal. Just one jutsu is all I need from you, Uchiha Itachi, said Naruto seeing Itachi raise an eyebrow slightly in surprise. Just one? I know quite a few. Not all of them from the Uchiha clan. Why only ask for one? Said Itachi seeing Naruto smirk. Because none of the other jutsus you have will allow me to avoid my pursuers once the Sandaime sends out every tracking unit to find me, said Naruto seeing knowing the old man would redirect the units hunting Itachi to hunt for him once they knew he was gone. What jutsu do you want to learn? Said Itachi sensing the power around Naruto go away slightly. The Shadow Clone Jutsu. Like I said Itachi, I need something that will help me get away from the leaf, and ditch the trackers. Besides, consider this your payment to me for when I'm getting all the hunter nin off your tail once I go missing, and the Hokage sends everyone hunting you after me. Said Naruto with Itachi considers this information and knows it's true. The ANBU level shinobi may be considered a prodigy among the Uchiha clan, but that all paled in comparison to having the Kyuubi inside the leaf, and turned into a weapon. Itachi knew they would if they caught the boy and decided to do what needed to be done in order to keep Naruto under their control. Very well. Considering your current and growing chakra capacity you should be able to make a small army of them before even getting winded, said Itachi seeing Naruto smirk again. That's the idea. I need a small army to scatter outward from the village so it sends them all running circles on potential destinations. By the time they know which direction I did go, the trail will be so cold you could pour water and skate on it, said Naruto seeing the Uchiha nod in understanding. You didn't come up with this by yourself. Did the Kyuubi help you? Said Itachi with a calculating look in his eyes. More or less, said Naruto making Itachi looking at him with curiosity. More or less? Does that mean he has another teacher? It would explain that strange dark energy I sensed earlier, thought Itachi while Naruto now gave him a look of impatience. Hey! I'm waiting, said Naruto tapping his foot. Patience young one. Just because the Shadow Clone Jutsu will become easy for you to perform doesn't mean it can be mastered just as easily, said Itachi seeing Naruto just giving him that confident Uzumaki smirk he had seen before. In Uzumaki Kushina. I'm a fast learner when given the right teacher, said Naruto with Itachi believing him without a doubt in his mind. If only Sasuke showed half your current potential, thought Itachi, as all his brother did was pester him, and just assumed that power would come easily to him. Konoha nightfall months later. The full moon was blood red in the sky, casting a dark shadow over all in its illuminating form, which was ironic since the moon was never meant to do that, and brought about a dark omen for many that read it as such. It was said people did evil things under the gaze of such a moon, as they killed those close to them, or knew on some deep level. On this particular night, screams of pain, suffering, and death echoed throughout the Uchiha clan district run entirely by every single person with the clan's blood flowing in their veins. All around, men, women, and children fell at the hands of a single Uchiha of their own blood they did not expect would betray them. His name was Uchiha Itachi. However, the focal point of this dark night was not entirely centered on Uchiha Itachi this night,
as another evil was about to be committed by an even younger individual wearing robes and a hood that covered his face. He wore combat boots, black pants, shirt, shinobi elbow coverings, and gloves with special fingertip grooves specifically designed to hold the hilt of a blade regardless of its size.
You know what must be done, my apprentice. Prove yourself worthy of the Sith title I wish to empower you with. Make those that wronged you tremble in fear at the carnage you are about to unleash. Do not hesitate.
Show no mercy, said Plagueis, seeing his Sith apprentice marching with a purpose to the building getting bigger in front of him. I will not fail you, master, thought Naruto, as he could feel the dark side of the Force flowing through his veins, and felt the lives of the Uchiha in Konoha dying. Inside the young boy's body, Kyuubi howled in pleasure at the sensation of every single Uchiha in the leaf being snuffed out like the flame on a candle, and Plagueis too felt the dark side shift more in their favor. No doubt the Hokage would send in his Anbu and Jounin to investigate what was going on after the report came in about the destruction of the clan. Plenty of time for Naruto to do his own thing, which was the final test to see if the boy was in fact worthy of becoming a full-fledged Sith Lord in the future, and be given his Sith name. Standing in front of the door, Naruto used the Force to open it quickly, and loudly to make everyone in the room jump at the sudden action. Taking a few steps forward, the young Kyuubi Jinchuriki was now in the room that was the kitchen area, where all the orphans, and overseers of said orphans, were currently eating.
Who are you? Said the matron of the orphanage, who was gray-haired, in her mid-50s, and looking at the robed boy before her eyes widened at the sight of those eyes when Naruto raised his face up more for her to see his face. Hello, matron. I'm back, said Naruto with a smirk on his face. You. What are you doing here, demon? We kicked you out years ago.
I barely dodged an investigation by the Hokage over your actions. I should skin you alive just for getting me in trouble with him.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't,
said the matron while pointing a butcher's knife at him with her much younger aides standing up ready to assist in the act. The children just grinned knowing the boy they were taught to hate would soon get hurt by the adult around them and were just enjoying the show.
Because I'm going to kill you.
All of you, said Naruto before moving his hand slightly, using the Force, locked everyone in the room, shutting doors, locking windows, and the blinds on them concealing eyes from the outside from seeing in.
He's using his demon magic,
said one of the younger aides while Naruto had a smirk on his face and everyone started to get nervous around him.
Just what he wanted. No. Not demon magic.
Something completely beyond your understanding, said Naruto looking at them now with reddish Sith-like eyes before using the Force again to take the butcher's knife out of the matron's hand, and into his own gloved hand. It was in that instant, all hell broke loose in that building, as Naruto had unleashed all his fury and power of the dark side of the Force on the people in the room. No one was safe from his wrath, as he stabbed, sliced, and gutted his foes that had made his life miserable. This wasn't just a test for the blonde Sith apprentice, as Plagueis had originally stated, as that was seeing things from a narrow point of view, and the Sith Lord knew this would mean so much more to the boy than just advancing his career and being a master of the dark side of the Force.
This was revenge.
This was a message to the people of Konoha. It was a message forged out of hatred by them, redirected at them, and meant to inspire fear for the sins they had sown into the boy via their cruelty. The dark side fueled the boy's desire for revenge on them, guiding his blood-soaked gloved hands, as he took the first bloody step towards becoming a Dark Lord of the Sith, and succeeding his master in the Sith arts. When it was all over, not one of Naruto's victims were left standing, as he threw the knife on the ground, and let it sink into the wooden floor. Walking out of the building, Naruto soon found the small lake near the orphanage, which everyone with the exception of himself was allowed to play in, and submerged himself into the water to wash away the scent of blood from his being. After a while, he rose from the water feeling reborn in a sense, as the entity of Uzumaki Naruto was no more, and in his place stood a true Sith apprentice with his new name about to be given to him by his master. You have done well, my apprentice. I am proud to see you've completed your test in earning your Sith name, said Plagueis, as he saw Naruto's body physically on autopilot going on the mental command to get out of Konoha, and somewhere away from the Leaf Village. I am honored, my master, thought the young blonde, as his mental image knelt before the Sith Lord sitting on his throne of sorts inside the secret Sith temple that Plagueis called home on BYSS.
Uzumaki Naruto died in that orphanage along with all the others slain there. He was weak, vulnerable, and would never achieve his dream of being Hokage. You on the other hand, my young apprentice, are his exact opposite, and will go far in this world. To do that, you must have a new name, which will inspire fear in all those who hear it being spoken, and tremble in your presence knowing you are that man with such a name. From this day forward, you will be known as Darth, Sage," said Plagueis, as he found it ironic to give the boy such a name considering the boy's lineage, and the man behind it being a Jedi. "It was perfect. Shadow clone Jutsu," said Naruto before an army of several hundred clones appeared around him. "Okay, Kit. You know what to do," said Kyuubi, seeing its vessel nod. "Scatter yourselves in all directions, run out of the village, and get far away from the leaf as humanly possible. Don't stop for anything. Dispel one at a time when all of you have reached your intended destination. Go!" said Naruto, seeing his shadow clones nod and then go off in all directions before he went on his own destination already in mind. To the land of iron. I don't know if this world is technologically advanced enough or has the crystal needed for him to make a lightsaber, but at least at this place, I can show him how to make a sword that will have the power to stand against one, and be unmatched on this planet, thought Plagueis, as he had been looking over the history of this world, provided by Kyuubi, of course using the previous two vessels it had before Naruto, and what it knew from them. Can he make such a powerful sword? Said Kyuubi, seeing the Sith Lord, thinking it over. It's not impossible. I have never performed the means to make such a weapon because a lightsaber seemed much more advanced and simpler to make than a sword of such a caliber. Still, I have long since memorized the means to make one, as it requires speaking in the Sith tongue, and using the dark side of the Force when forging the blade, said Plagueis, but he was confident Naruto could pull it off, as the boy had spent learning the language in his mind while his body slept, and seen his student practice the different forms using a sword the Sith Lord had manifested for him to train with. But it will be a challenge for him nonetheless, said Kyuubi, seeing Plagueis smirk at the fox. I would think you of all creatures far older than myself would know by now, my dear friend Kyuubi. Everything I do regarding this boy's training is a challenge, said Plagueis before letting out a small chuckle, and Kyuubi just grinned at him. The next day, the Hokage was worried. No, strike that thought. He was terrified at this very moment after word reached him of the Uchiha clan being completely decimated by Itachi. He sanctioned it, of course, at the last minute after being pressured by the elders, and by Danzo in the end, knowing what would happen if it wasn't done. The only remaining survivor of it was Itachi's younger brother Uchiha Sasuke, and already the people were praising the boy for his survival like he was blessed by Kami. At the moment, the councils and Danzo were trying to use this to their advantage in keeping the boy in the leaf by basically spoiling him silly. To make him so loved by the people, he would have to be stupid to leave the village and expect better treatment than what they could give him. However, what the councils, clan heads, or even Danzo possibly knew right now was the entire orphanage, along with all those residing in it, had been killed. Not just killed. They were slain, butchered, and mutilated in such a fashion that the Sandaime Hokage knew even Ibiki himself would flinch at the sight of it. And the name of the one responsible for the brutal slaying of men, women, and children at the orphanage? Uzumaki Naruto himself. Kakashi had confirmed it with his dogs the moment they were summoned by him, as the ANBU captain knew this had to be kept quiet, and members of the Inuzuka clan couldn't do that considering most of them were, well, brash. The Sandaime had asked Kakashi to look in on Naruto after what happened with the Uchiha clan, but the man never found the boy in the assigned house, and tracked the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to the orphanage where the bloodbath was soon located before informing the Hokage of it. Could Itachi have been teaching him? No. It's not possible. Even if that were true, Itachi would never have been able to make Naruto that strong, as several adults against one boy, and the fact Kyuubi's power wasn't even sensed there means the seal is intact. The only possible conclusion I can make from this is that Naruto did it all on his own, but where did he get the power to do it if not from Itachi, or the Kyuubi itself? Thought the Hokage while finding himself in a dilemma that couldn't be ignored. Once word got out of Naruto disappearing, every shinobi possible would be deployed to find the brat, and then certain measures to prevent that from happening again would be made.
Of course, such things were considered a last resort with the boy, but then again, this sudden butchery, regardless of the reason behind it, would more than warrant it that such procedures be used, and Jiraiya would have to be summoned to Konoha to do it since he was the only seal master the Sandaime trusted to make sure what was done to Naruto didn't mess with the Shinigami seal. "Hokage-sama," said Kakashi, as he wore his Inu mask due to being in ANBU, and stood at attention.
"Kakashi, did you locate where Naruto was heading?"
said the Sandaime. Since the boy was not with the man, it was clear the brat got away, and currently couldn't be hunted in the correct manner.
"No.
His scent is scattered all over the place. It went from Konoha to every single kind of direction outside the village has, and I'm forced to conclude, he used the shadow clone jutsu to make that happen," said Kakashi, with the Sandaime sighing heavily at this news. "So, Itachi did teach him," said the Sandaime, sensing Kakashi frowning behind his mask before the ANBU captain removed it.
Hokage-sama, why would Itachi teach Naruto that jutsu? What would he gain from it?"
said Kakashi, seeing the Sandaime was just as puzzled by this information.
"I don't know. It's possible Naruto talked him into it.
Though why Naruto copied Itachi in terms of performing his own massacre I don't know," said the Sandaime, as Kakashi did not know the details behind Itachi's secret assignment, and couldn't say failed rebellion. "This won't be contained for long," said Kakashi, seeing the old Hokage nod in agreement to his words. "Which is why I need you to put together every available tracking team we currently have in the Leaf and inform them discreetly of the situation involving Naruto. I want them all deployed before the meeting with the councils and the clan heads about this disaster," said the Sandaime, knowing if he went into that meeting and explained to them that he had done absolutely nothing would make him look incompetent. That would be all the ammunition Danzo would need to nominate a new Hokage, which would be either himself or a puppet that could be manipulated from the shadows. "The councils will want him marked down in the bingo book," said Kakashi, with the Hokage shaking his head no. "The bingo book only applies to shinobi and missing nin. Even if we could put him in it, we would need to state why, which means labeling him as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and there is always a risk of Naruto telling his intended capturers about his childhood here in Konoha. They could either offer him a place in their village or they could turn him into a living weapon like IWA or Suna did their own Jinchuriki," said the Sandaime, seeing the man in front of him nod.
"How do you want the teams to handle Naruto once spotted and captured?"
said Kakashi, seeing the old man's eyes harden slightly. "Ask Naruto to come back nicely and only ask him once, Kakashi. If he still refuses after that, then they are authorized to cause bodily harm," said the Sandaime, seeing Kakashi nod with a slight glint in his eye. "I'll make sure they know," said Kakashi before he left the room, with the Hokage letting out a sigh and looking at the picture of the Yondaime up above. The man seemed to have a scowl on his face.
"Don't look at me like that, Minato.
What we decided regarding Naruto had to be done, and now because of your son's action, a new way to handle him will be put into place. After all that I've lost, you owe me that much, and your son will pay it in your place," thought the Sandaime with a scowl on his face, but all it did was make the Yondaime's face in the picture look even more angry, and the third Hokage finally looked away in the end. One did not compete in a staring match with an angry picture of a dead man and expect to win.
Land of Iron weeks later. "So, this is Land of Iron."
"Not bad considering how cold it is," said Naruto, or as he would now be known by his master as Darth Sage, while the wind blew fiercely around him. "Harsh weather will make you stronger, my student. To endure pain and discomfort will harden your young body to become stronger than it would without such conditioning," said Plagueis, as his apprentice marched into the cold wintry terrain and the nearest town. Preferably with a blacksmith and a master of the art of forging swords who also in need of an apprentice. "The boy is going to be a master of many things and not just what we teach him," said Kyuubi, having sensed the boy's intentions to make the sword he wanted.
"Yes.
Then again, it is to be expected from what you have told me about his family and their unorthodox-like manner of doing things," said Plagueis.
"Yes.
Those of the Uzumaki bloodline were known for thinking outside the box, and this boy is indeed his mother's son," said Kyuubi while looking away from the Sith Lord in thought. "Your thoughts betray you, Kyuubi," said Plagueis at last from his throne.
"I suppose so.
I'm just curious as to when you'll tell him about his parentage, and who exactly his father is along with the boy's mother."
said Kyubi, since he agreed with Plagueis in secret to keep that information from Naruto until he was older and his mind was mature enough from their training to handle the strain of this sensitive information. Not for a many more years. He's still young, impulsive at times, and such information will make him become too distracted in his desire to get revenge. The boy will have it when the time is right and when his training, as a new Dark Lord of the Sith, is complete, and your own training in using your demonic chakra is finished. Only then will he truly be ready to take his revenge on the leaf and crush those that would oppose his future rule over this world, said Plagueis, seeing Kyubi nod in understanding. And by that point, my vessel will be strong enough to destroy you, Madara, and when that day comes, I am going to enjoy watching you die. Thought Kyubi, as he was going to relish that moment, and hear the Uchiha know the true meaning of fear. And that fear would be in the form of Darth Sage, Dark Lord of the Sith. Chapter 3 Wave Manipulation. The young Sith, known in different underground circles as Darth Sage, looked down from his position on the hilltop at the incomplete bridge that connected Wave Country to the mainland that was fire. The wind was blowing around him this particular night, as his robes were flapping in the wind, and he sensed of things to come for this place. After nearly 4 long years, the Sith in training was back in Fire Country, if only for a single day to cross into Wave Country, and to complete his goal here. Since arriving in the Land of Iron all those years ago, Darth Sage had been busy a master blacksmith, forging his own sword after 2 long dedicated years, and pleased everyone with the overall final product. His master for a blacksmith, who had trained the Sith in the art of the forge, had been absolutely astonished by the unmatched quality of work the boy had shown once his sword was completed, and declared him a true master. And as for the sword itself? Its handle had a flat pommel, a smooth black cloth woven in a mix with crimson-red fabric, which felt like a dream in the Sith's hands, and through the Force. Just above the hilt of the weapon on the blade was the kanji for Sith Lord, which was difficult to make since there was no real way to properly make it without proper research with the Kyubi, and with the fox's help had created such a kanji. The blade itself was midnight black, but a sliver of white along the outer lining of the sharp end and dull side of the sword, and it reminded the fox of the rare lunar eclipse that happens in the night sky. Hence the name Darth Sage had given his new weapon once held in his hands. Making the sword's scabbard wasn't easy either. The young Sith had to seek out another for the creation of the sheath to hold his masterpiece of a weapon like the blade. The scabbard had been midnight black with line of crimson red along the thin side of it and a demonic-looking fox head on it near the hilt, colored in crimson with dark soulless eyes. After completing his task there, the young Sith went to relearning the forms Plagueis had taught him in his mind, and got them down nicely with the help of his shadow clones. Meanwhile, the Sith Lord in his head was doing his own thorough examination of the lunar eclipse, which Plagueis could not deny was indeed a powerful sword forged with the power of the dark side of the Force flowing through it. The master blacksmith, who taught his student, did not see the boy make the sword, per the child's request, and thus did not know how the blade weapon became to be so perfect. Plagueis had watched, as Darth Sage focused on making the weapon, in a trance for hours on end, and spoke the ancient Sith language taught to him while calling upon the dark side of the Force to assist in the forging process. When the master blacksmith asked his student about the weapon's forging, all the boy could say was, "I just did it," and left it at that, since Sage could not truly put it into words either. Even Kyubi, who watched the forging with Plagueis, had been unable to put what had happened into words, and was awed by the creation of such a dark blade in the hands of its creator. The only problem that came afterwards was word spreading of the boy's work, and Darth Sage knew this would bring about attention of the Leaf along with their shinobi hunting him down. They came, as the Sith apprentice knew they would, but with a man known to many as Jiraiya of the Sannin, and the boy knew he didn't stand a chance against him. For the moment anyway, but with enough training from Plagueis and Kyubi that would change greatly in the coming years. As for the boy himself, much had changed in the first 2 years after escaping the Leaf while making his sword, and then another 2 years upon leaving soon after, finding a secluded place to train himself without any distractions. When the heat finally died down with the Leaf finding the trail they were following had gone cold, Darth Sage emerged once more from the shadows, and now stood here at this point between 2 countries. "I sense the dark side swirls around this place," thought Darth Sage, as he headed to the direction of the source behind it, and easily walked on the water to get to his destination. Upon arriving in Wave Country, the Sith Lord found himself disgusted by the state of the town he walked in, as the place was falling apart, its people struggling to survive,
and not be destroyed in a slow painful manner. Clearly this source of suffering was not natural, as he could sense an outside individual was the one responsible for this, and could also be his key to something more.
Yes, my young apprentice. You are right about this place.
Manipulate this situation to your advantage, said Plagueis, as he sensed the despair, the sorrow, and suffering of these people through the Force.
Oh, how the Mien Sith Lord loved it.
Following the Force, the young Sith stopped at a fortified building surrounded by armed guards, and thugs that were a considerable army to contend with. Still, Sage had no real interest in killing anyone, yet anyway, as he had another idea, and with better finesse too.
Halt! Halt! What are you doing here, kid? Buzz off! Said one of the guards. I'm here to see your boss.
He's expecting me, said Sage using the mind trick on the man and saw guard's eyes glaze over.
You are here to see my boss. He's expecting you.
Follow me, said the guard before he motioned Sage to follow, and Sith Apprentice followed. With a quick knock of the door, the guard opened it and entered with Darth Sage right behind him with a roughly short man with a cane looking at him. Apparently, the man was waiting for someone, but when no one else came behind the blonde-haired Sith, it was clear to the slightly portly man this was someone else, and decided to make that known.
Who is this?
This is not the man I asked for, you idiot. The shinobi I'm expecting has others with him, said the man, who saw his thug of a guard turn around to face Sage, sword halfway out of the sheath, and cut down seconds later completely in half. With a wave of his hand, the door behind Sage was shut, locked, and with a few hand signs made a sound barrier go up so no one would be alerted. The short man was at the moment cowering behind his desk and backed away from Darth Sage when the young Sith took a step forward.
You are the boss of these thugs in this building, correct?
Said Darth Sage as he took a few more steps forward, and the man in front of him taking just as many backs until he hit the bookcase behind the chair.
I am. My name is Gato.
I am head of Gato Industries and Shipping.
What do you want with me?
Said the scared man.
What do I want with you? You misunderstand, I don't want anything from you.
I want to make a deal with you, and one that is too good to ignore, said Darth Sage while leaning forward and grinning at the confused yet still terrified man.
A deal?
What kind of deal? Said Gato, hoping his business skills would be helpful in keeping the strange figure from slicing him in half. The kind where everyone wins.
You know the kind, right?
The one that's considered to be good for business, said Darth Sage before quickly grabbing Gato with his free hand and called upon the dark side of the Force.
Stop. Stop. Let me go.
Said Gato, struggling and failing to break free from the boy's seemingly iron grip.
That's not part of the deal, said Darth Sage, letting out a grin as he began to take control of the corrupt businessman's weak mind and turn him into his own puppet. 1 hour later,
Momochi Zabuza, along with his tool of a student Haku, who was currently wearing her Hunter Nin uniform, were walking to Gato's office, and were both surprised to see there was another figure standing beside Gato's chair with the businessman sitting in it looking like he was in complete control. However, Zabuza knew something was off, as the smell of blood from a recently killed man was in the air, and the robed figure seemed to have a strange feeling about him that made the former seven swordsman of the mist along with his protege to feel uncomfortable.
Hello, Zabuza.
You're late, said Gato, with the missing Nin from Mist grunted.
Last-minute problem with some shinobi.
Had to wait a couple of days before the coast was clear, said Zabuza, seeing Gato sigh. I suppose such an excuse from a missing Nin is acceptable this one time.
Still, I don't want it to happen again. I am paying you a considerable amount for your services, not to mention lodgings, and a few other necessities needed to keep you happy, said Gato, as he saw Zabuza smirk behind his bandages, and then look over at the robed figure next to him.
Who's he?
My competition?
Said Zabuza while trying to get a read on the kid, and felt a bit annoyed that someone younger than Haku was going to be his competition for this job Gato had hired him for.
Hardly. He's my business advisor and second in command when I'm not around. Also, unlike you, this kid's actually proved his worth,
and does what's commanded from him, said Gato with Zabuza narrowing his eyes at the boy with suspicion.
I see. So, he killed the guy in here, before us then, huh? Said Zabuza seeing Darth Sage nod slightly.
He was bad for business, said Darth Sage with a grin behind his hood. Well, I'm not, and neither are my subordinates, said Zabuza seeing the Sith apprentice lean down slightly and whisper something to Gato with the businessman nodding slightly in agreement.
My advisor here suggests I give you and your subordinates the benefit of the doubt in getting the job done considering your past. Still, I'm a businessman that demands his employees do their jobs correctly on the first try, and I don't take kindly to slackers. It's bad for business, said Gato seeing Zabuza scowl at him. As long as I get paid well, the job gets done, and no questions asked. Bad for business on my end too, said Zabuza with Gato nodding.
Good to hear, because I have your assignment for you. Right now, the Leaf Village is in possession of a bridge builder, who wants to complete the bridge connecting Wave to Fire Country, and legally I can't touch him.
I've tried that route since it was cheaper than killing him in the beginning.
But now, he's a thorn in my side, and I don't tolerate thorns unless they are sticking in someone else, said Gato seeing Zabuza nod. So, you want this guy to be removed by us through unofficial channels?
What about the bridge?
I saw it on the way here. Pretty impressive, really, said Zabuza knowing it took a lot of effort to make something like that. Oh, I'll finish the bridge with my own resources, and since it's almost completed I won't have to spend so much money. Not to mention I can regulate things on two fronts with my company monopolizing it and further making this country subservient to my rule, said Gato seeing the man shrug.
Fair enough.
I'll have two of my subordinates take care of the problem in the Leaf while Haku and I stay here should he somehow get around them, said Zabuza seeing Gato nod at his plan.
Good. See to it they leave at once.
One of my spies in the Leaf has informed me the old man is leaving in the next couple of days with a small shinobi escort.
Deal with them and the bridge builder.
Make sure your two cronies understand that I want NO survivors to report this, said Gato with Zabuza nodding knowing witnesses brought down a lot of heat on missing Nin and the clients themselves that hired them.
Understood.
Just make sure that our money is ready when this job is over, said Zabuza before leaving and Haku right behind him.
I don't like him, Zabuza-sama.
There is something off about Gato, said Haku, as she saw Zabuza look slightly to his right and look her in the eyes.
Gato is a businessman.
It's his advisor we need to be cautious of. Keep an eye on him when he's around, said Zabuza seeing Haku nod.
With Darth Sage?
The instant the door shut, the Sith apprentice cut his connection to the businessman, and Gato's head hit the desk with a thud. While Darth Sage walked over to the window in the room to stare out at the surroundings of this place. While Zabuza may have bought the lie about the spy informing the businessman of bridge builders' return to Wave to finish the bridge's construction, the Force was the real source behind that information, and that the old man was smart enough to hire a protective escort home. However, the Force had been sending him a warning since then, telling the young Sith those things would not be so simple in killing the old man, and the Force would not allow Zabuza to succeed in killing him. From what the Sith apprentice had read of the former Mist Shinobi's own mind, the two subordinates Zabuza mentioned were in fact the Demon Brothers who were also from Mist and missing Nin like man himself. They were both ranked Shunin, had worked together when they killed, and in single combat had used poison-tipped gauntlets that would eventually kill their target should they fail to make the killing blow. A nice failsafe measure should that ever happen, but what bothered Darth Sage was the fact the Force told him they would fail, and mostly due to the Jounin leading the escort. It didn't help the shinobi protecting the bridge builder to Wave Country were Leaf shinobi and the risk of them finding out about their lost Kyuubi Jinchuriki was increased with each passing day. The only thing Sage could do was legally manipulate the system to become immune to the Leaf's pursuit of him and make the Hokage call off the pre-verbal fox hunt for him. Not easy when the only other authority in Fire Country greater than the Hokage's own was the Fire Daimyo himself and Darth Sage didn't have a legal leg to stand on just yet to turn the issue in his favor. For the Fire Daimyo to order the Hokage to cancel any hunt for the young Sith required some form of incentive and Sage did not have it. The mind trick might work, but there were no way the Daimyo's guards were easily manipulated like the hired thugs Gato had, and there was possibly elite Leaf Shinobi with the feudal lord in the event such attempts at manipulating him in such a manner ever happened. Shaking his head, the young Sith decided not to think about it right now, and discarded the idea of going to the highest authority in the land. Now was not the time to think too far ahead, as it would just cause him to miss what was already in front of his face, and just stumble when the end result came. All I can do now is let the Leaf Shinobi protecting the bridge builder come here to Wave Country.
The pawns of my enemies are moving once again to unknowingly move against mine.
I will need to make careful preparations for when all of this comes to an abrupt end, thought Darth Sage, as he reawakened his puppet through the dark side of the Force, and had got to write up some important legitimate documents that would help when such a plan was put into motion. With Zabuza days later. It's hard to imagine the Demon Brothers failed, said Haku at the hideout. Gato had been so gracious to leave them. They were fighting a Jounin, so it's only natural they'd lose right away. Haku. We need to succeed where they failed, said Zabuza, seeing Haku nod, knowing Gato was less than pleased with the old bridge builder's survival. Though Haku had suspected there was more to it than just the usual "it's bad for business" speech and wanting to take control of the bridge's completion. Gato's so-called advisor was making her nervous with each passing day, as she saw him in passing at least twice after the original meeting with the corrupt businessman, and Haku didn't like being nervous around him. Not only that, but she also heard whispered voices in her sleep, not from Zabuza himself, but of the robed figure, and yet when she looked around, he wasn't anywhere to be found. Haku didn't share this with Zabuza because she didn't want him to be distracted from the task at hand and make unnecessary inquiries with Gato at the risk of being denied payment for their services. She also made sure the voice of this boy didn't go after Zabuza by asking her master if he slept well, playing it off as harmless questions centered around the bed provided, and if it hampered his sleeping in any way. Zabuza didn't think anything into her query since she had done it before on several occasions in the past, and her question didn't alert the former Mist Shinobi that there might be a problem. We will have to strike shortly upon arriving here, said Haku, knowing Zabuza would be on the front lines and she would be hiding in the shadows to support him.
Not a problem.
The Jounin can be taken care of with a single swing. We'll see who else is protecting the old man before I do that, said Zabuza, seeing Haku looking a bit nervous for a split second.
Something tells me this will not end well, thought Haku, worried for what the future held for her and Zabuza. Sometime later. You were defeated? I paid good money for you, this bitch, and your cronies to do one simple job. Only to blow it, twice. Now the Leaf Shinobi are staying with the old fool and no doubt going to help protect him until the bridge is finished, said Gato, stomping his cane hard on the ground while Zabuza lay on the bed recovering from his injuries. Those Leaf Shinobi are a strong bunch. The Jounin rank shinobi is Hatake Kakashi and his 3 genin aren't pushovers either, said Zabuza, as he somewhat lied about that since the pink-haired one was clearly a fangirl, and the pale-skinned one with the ink-based jutsus had skills beyond a genin, while the one with the duck-butt-shaped hair had nearly pissed himself under his killer intent before Kakashi interfered. Nevertheless, I'm paying you a good sum of money to have the bridge builder killed, and given how you are failing at the task, I'm thinking about giving you only half of what you are asking for, said Gato with a smile that made Zabuza frown. Then I should just cut my losses and go if you're going to be that tight-fisted about such a minor setback, said Zabuza, seeing Gato frown. And how is you being incapacitated considered only a minor setback?
Said Gato, as he wanted an explanation, and wanted a good one.
Because Kakashi is too.
Make no mistake, Gato, when the time comes, the old man will die, and you can have the spoils that come from our battle, said Zabuza, seeing Gato just look at him for a second and then nod in accepting that offer. Just get the job done on this upcoming 3rd and final attempt. There will not be a 4th one if you survive the fight with the Leaf Jounin, said Gato before leaving with his 2 thugs for bodyguards.
Damn stingy businessman. And they say the shinobi world is cutthroat, said Zabuza, knowing the business world had its own ruthless streak to it.
It will take a whole week for you to recover, Zabuza-sama, said Haku at last, since he didn't want Gato to know the extent of her master's injuries. So will Kakashi. People like him with transplanted digitsus use more chakra than those who use them naturally if they have them active for too long, said Zabuza, seeing Haku nod, since he had experience fighting people with bloodlines. I could slip into the bridge builder's house and kill him, said Haku, while Zabuza just laughed at her suggestion.
We both know that's not possible.
I may have trained you in the shinobi arts Haku, but you're far too soft to kill someone, and won't do that anytime soon, said Zabuza with Haku smiling at him. It didn't hurt to ask, said Haku, but deep down a sense of dread filled her heart, and she knew their fates would be decided by the end of the week.
With Darth Sage? So, they are staying. How unfortunate, said Darth Sage to himself after hearing Gato report to him what was going on with the Leaf Shinobi. How do you wish to handle this, Darth Sage? If you reveal yourself to them, then the Jounin will report to the Hokage, and every shinobi under his command will come after you, said Plagueis in an almost taunting manner, knowing his student would think faster because of it. I have a plan, my master, thought Darth Sage, as he knew his master was more amused than anything, and clearly suspected failure was a distinct possibility. I'm sure you do, and I want to see your said plan manifest itself, said Plagueis, as he wanted results from his student, and would be deeply disappointed if there weren't any real soon. Mentally nodding, Darth Sage left the now slumped businessman on the ground, and set out to see a certain bridge builder about making a deal. Incomplete bridge hours later. Tazuna sighed, as he wiped the sweat from his brow, and looked around at his workers trying their hardest to finish the bridge to free his people from Gato's rule. Easier said than done, however, when you've had 2 attempts on your life, had to deal with a barely competent protection detail, and scared workers leaving out of fear for the lives of their families. Being harmed by Gato's thugs or publicly executed like others had instilled a sense of fear in the people that prevented them from rising up against their oppressor. Could this day get any more worse for me? Said Tazuna, as he looked over at the pink-haired girl assigned to be his bodyguard, and saw her looking around like she didn't have any shinobi training. Tazuna didn't know if this was bait to lure the enemy to her or if she was just that green in terms of being a shinobi. The old man didn't want to know, and deep down, he was too damn afraid to ask the girl's Jounin sensei about it. However, before the man could even think about asking the temporarily disabled Jounin for one of the other 2, a mysterious power pulled him behind a large stack of crates. Tazuna, the bridge builder, I presume, said a voice from a hooded figure now having the old man's throat in his hand. Who are you? One of Gato's hired thugs sent here to silence me on my own bridge? Or are you an agent of that guy with the super huge sword? Said Tazuna, seeing the weapon at the boy's waist. You don't need to know. You don't want to know. Besides, if I wanted you dead, I could do it with a single thought, and no one would ever know how it happened outside of saying it was from drinking too much, said the figure while squeezing a little tighter for a second to further remind the man of his situation. Point taken. Now, why are you here? Said Tazuna, seeing the figure's mouth twist into a smile. To make a deal. A deal where you live, Gato dies, the missing nin with the super huge sword gets off your back, and your country prospers under new management, said the figure, seeing Tazuna stiffen. So basically, Wave Country is trading one tyrant for another. Aren't you a little young to be someone like that? Said Tazuna while letting out a small chuckle, which the figure silenced with an increase in pressure to the old man's throat with his hand, and glared at him. What does it matter if I'm a tyrant or not? At least with this tyrant ruling your country, you will become strong, healthy, and become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, said the figure while Tazuna spat on the ground over his robed shoulders. I don't believe you, said Tazuna, seeing the hooded figure smirk. No. I suppose you wouldn't. You better get back to work. The workers are starting to get fearful. Remember this, our conversation here will not be told to those Leaf Shinobi, or your family pays for it, with their lives, said the figure before letting the old man go and leaped off the bridge into the water below. Tazuna? Tazuna? Where are you? Said Sakura, as she saw the man behind a large pile of boxes, and starting to show signs of sweat on his forehead again. Over here. Sorry. Just a bit out of shape, said Tazuna while giving a weak laugh, and Sakura just huffed at him. Well, maybe if you stopped drinking so much, you wouldn't have that problem, and get this bridge done faster, said Sakura, scolding the older man, and Tazuna's sweat dropped at her hypocritical stance on things. For Kami's sake, the oink-haired girl asked the Uchiha kid out almost every 10 minutes on a date, and ignored the shinobi training the kid's Jounin sensei handed out while he recovered. I'll try to remember that, said Tazuna before looking over where the strange figure had jumped and knew it wouldn't be the end of him. Tazuna's house. Are you sure? Someone came to see you on the bridge? Said Kakashi seriously while sitting at the table and saw the old bridge builder nod. But I didn't see or sense anyone, sensei. Said Sakura while Sasuke scoffed at her and Sai seemed to be thoughtful about something. This guy was obviously skilled enough to get by you, said Sasuke, knowing he would have sensed something and shown the power of the Uchiha clan was all the client needed to protect him. But why not kill the old drunk? He clearly had the means and opportunity to do it, said Sai while Tazuna had a tick mark on his head. Because killing Tazuna would put whatever plans this person has at risk and make him a martyr for the people of Wave Country to rise up in rebellion, said Kakashi thoughtfully. But what about my family? He threatened to kill them if I told you? Said Tazuna, seeing the Jounin frown further. That does prove to be a potential problem. There is always a chance he'll know we were told about this. How this person could know, I'm not sure, but we can't take the risk, and even more when Zabuza comes back with his helper. So, Sai will stay here to watch over the family in the event that happens. Sakura, Sasuke, and myself will go with Tazuna to the bridge on the final day when Zabuza is fully healed, said Kakashi, seeing everyone nod, though Sasuke clearly preferred Sai to watch his back than Sakura. At least then Sasuke had the skills of a shinobi to back him up. With Haku. She had been picking herbs for Zabuza today, as to help in his speedy recovery, and it was only when Haku got to her usual spot did she stop cold in her step. Before her in the distance was Gato's advisor, sitting in meditative position, and Haku sensed a dark energy swirling around him. At that moment, several possibilities went through her mind, as she calculated each end result of the outcome of the events on what to do, and decided to approach him with the one scenario that fit best for her. Silently Haku approached the robed figure, not a sound in her footsteps, as Zabuza had so expertly trained into her, and a pair of Senbon needles ready to disable Gato's second-in-command. Once down, Haku planned to do her own examination of this figure, see if he was as valuable to Gato like the businessman claimed, and maybe use her own means to extract information out of the Gato's right hand if necessary. Don't move, said the robed figure, which made Haku's eyes widen, and her entire body freeze in place. So, you are a shinobi like I suspected, said Haku with the figure scoffing. Please. Do not insult me. I am no more a shinobi than you are. We both have our own skills, but not the rank that comes to a shinobi, and thus allow us to keep ourselves in the shadows to stay anonymous. Am I wrong? Said Darth Sage, as he rose to his feet, and Haku found herself trying to move her body. Only she couldn't. I can't move, said Haku, as she found her hands open in palm form, the two Senbon needles falling to the ground, and the young Sith now right in her face. Because I won't let you, said Darth Sage, staring the scared girl right in the eyes. And what are you going to do to me? Said Haku, as she saw him smirk and turn away from her. You? Nothing. I gain nothing of value from hurting you. Zabuza, on the other hand, said Darth Sage, turning his head to see her eyes widen and yet become surprisingly angry at him. You will not touch Zabuza-sama. I'll kill you before that happens, said Haku, trying to break free from this invisible power that held her in place. I see. You cherish Zabuza. He is your greatest strength, and losing him is your greatest fear. You crave the need to protect him since he is the only one that remotely cared about your well-being, said Darth Sage, as he remembered Plagueis' words in his teachings, and used them against Haku. Do what you want to me, but leave Zabuza-sama alone, said Haku, as she saw him give her a more calculating gaze, and began to circle her while in thought. Your offer intrigues me. Very well. I'll make you a deal. The battle between Zabuza and Hatake Kakashi is fast approaching. If I have no direct hand in his death and save you from your own, you must pledge the same unbending loyalty you gave Zabuza, to me, said Darth Sage, seeing Haku's eyes widen in disbelief. And if I refuse? Said Haku, seeing Darth Sage smile at her. Then you will be temporarily removed from play and your precious Zabuza will fall at my hands.
Given his current condition, it's more than likely he will die without much of a fight, and that would be the greatest insult I could deliver to one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, said Darth Sage, seeing Haku's eyes become fearful for her master.
I accept. I also have your word that should Zabuza survive and we wish to leave, you will not stop us?
Said Haku, seeing the young Sith smile.
Of course.
You will have more than earned that right, said Darth Sage, as he saw her nod, and ended his hold on the girl before walking away.
What is your name?
Said Haku, seeing him stop and turn slightly to look back at her.
My name is Darth Sage, said the Sith apprentice and walked away.
Darth Sage.
A dangerous foe to be sure.
I must inform Zabuza-sama of this, said Haku, as she quickly moved to gather her herbs, and then return quickly to her master. You took a gamble in telling her that my apprentice, said Plagueis, seeing his student nod mentally while watching her from a greater distance and keeping himself concealed through the force. I need someone skilled to assist me in my future endeavors, my master. Her loyalty to Zabuza will soon be transformed into mine, said Darth Sage, as he needed to have Haku on his side when this was over, and the young Sith in training would do everything in his power to make it happen.
Does this have something to do with your plans for Gato's company once this whole incident with the bridge is over?
Said Plagueis, seeing his student nod slightly. I need resources outside of the Force and Chakra. I need strong and reliable agents to do what I ask of them without question. Gato's company and Haku's loyalty with her powers will be a good foundation to work from, thought Sage, with Plagueis nodding at his words. You are using my knowledge in expanding your power base, said Plagueis, knowing the boy understood his teachings in gathering followers from one to a whole army. You must begin by gaining power over yourself, then another, then a group, an order, a world, a species, a group of species, finally, the galaxy itself. While his Sith apprentice would most likely never see beyond this world into the galaxy itself, it didn't mean Plagueis would deny the boy a means to take control of and rule the world with an iron fist. Darth Sage saw this world was chaotic, divided by all the petty squabbles and indifferences that made humans fight one another for power. It was one of the reasons why Plagueis had been proud to be immune and always looked at Sidious with a sense of displeasure even when teaching him. However, Darth Sage was the exception to the rule of humans being a disgusting race on certain levels on backwater planets, and saw a potential that would have been squandered had he not discovered the boy. The Force did indeed work in mysterious ways. Just like you taught me to do, my master, thought Darth Sage before he finally decided to leave the area. Incomplete bridge, end of the week. I don't like this, said Kakashi, seeing the heavy rolling of mist fill the area and saw Zabuza standing ready for a fight with his backup wearing a standard mist hunter name mask. Hey Kakashi. Long time no see. Hope you didn't strain yourself using that eye of yours too much that you couldn't train your runs how to be proper shinobi, said Zabuza with Kakashi scowling slightly at him. I could say the same for you, Zabuza. My genin gave you some problems after I was in that water prison jutsu of yours, said Kakashi while Zabuza just scoffed. Please. You fail to realize Haku here could have disposed of them easily if ordered to step in like that, said Zabuza while Kakashi's one eye looked at Haku and then back at him. He's right. It clears Zabuza personally taught her. There is also no telling what she knows or what her skills exactly are in terms of shinobi outside of using senbon needles. She could have easily outflanked my genin when Zabuza had me in the water prison jutsu, thought Kakashi, knowing this girl was not to be underestimated and to be handled with extreme caution. Come on, Kakashi. Let's finish what we started. Haku can take on your little wet behind the ears genin. Winner gets the bridge builder, said Zabuza, seeing Kakashi nod slightly at him. Okay. Fair enough, said Kakashi, as he got ready to face the missing Nin, and Zabuza just smirked at him behind his bandages. This is going to be fun, thought Zabuza, as he was going to enjoy killing the leaf jounin in front of him, and make an even greater name for himself. At Tazuna's home at home. Here's the place. What a dump, said the samurai thug Gato had sent to get the old man's daughter to use as a hostage. I agree. Come on. Let's get the bitch and maybe he'll reward us in having her if she's hot enough, said the second thug with a smirk on his face. Hell yeah.
said the first thug, as he kicked down the door, and saw the terrified woman, and her son in the kitchen. "Who are you? What do you want?" said Tsunami, who the thugs knew right away was Tazuna's daughter, and the brat was his grandson. "Shut up, bitch. Gato has requested your presence at his place of business in the shithole you call a country, and it's unwise to deny him," said the second thug, drawing his sword along with his friend doing the same. Only to be sent flying out by an ink octopus that broke out of the floor below them after it used its tentacles to throw them out. "You are not welcomed in this house." "I understand uninvited guests should be removed with extreme prejudice," said Sai, as he was drawing another animal to repel the enemy, and protect the client's family. Only to receive a blade through his back and out his chest. "You can't imagine how many uninvited guests I've had in my life that deserve to be thrown out of it," said Darth Sage before pulling his sword out and taking the pale boy's head off. "Thanks, boss," said the first thug, as the ink octopus splattered everywhere, and turned with his buddy to continue the assignment Gato gave them. Only to be cut down by Darth Sage. "But WWI?" said the first samurai thug, struggling to turn and face his killer. "Because Gato will soon be dead and I will be in charge. I have no need for people like you in my world," said Darth Sage, as he stabbed lunar eclipse into the man's skull with such impact it practically shattered the skull. "You're working for Gato?" said Tsunami, as she saw Darth Sage flicking he blood and other remains from his blade before sheathing it. "Me? Work for him?" "No," said Darth Sage with Inari glaring at him. "Liar. They called you boss, which means you work for Gato," said Inari, seeing Darth Sage turn fully to face the two. "And yet they're dead. Perhaps you would like to join them and your genin protector now floating in the water?" said Darth Sage, as he motioned his hand to draw lunar eclipse yet again, and saw Tsunami move Inari behind her form. "No need, good sit. Thank you for saving us," said Tsunami, bowing in respect while Inari just scowled. "Good. Tell Tazuna he owes me and I intend to collect soon after the leaf is gone," said Darth Sage, knowing once the leaf were gone, he could properly manipulate the old man, and then the people of Wave Country. "What do we tell Kakashi about his dead genin?" said Tsunami, not knowing how to tell the jounin about his dead genin student. Simple. Lie to him and make it convincing," said Darth Sage before walking away. "And if we don't?" said Inari defiantly. "Such a course of action would be most unwise, boy. It's from speaking out just like that, which caused your surrogate father to get killed, and your mother to suffer while you sulked," said Darth Sage, walking away from them while Tsunami scolded her child on not provoking such a dangerous person. "That boy will talk the moment the others come back," said Kyubi, knowing that boy will sing like a bird in a cage. "I know. Which is why I will be around to make sure he keeps his mouth shut," thought Darth Sage, knowing his timing with getting to the bridge, then back to the house would be close, and no room for error. Incomplete bridge sometime later. "What's wrong, Kakashi? You're getting slower. Haku hasn't even breaking a sweat in taking down your Uchiha pet," said Zabuza through the thick and heavy mist. "Yeah. Now I wish I had Sai here to back me up," thought Kakashi, as he had found the thick mist was blocking his Sharingan eye, and his skills without it were a tad rusty. The two were fighting it out with everything they had, as Zabuza would use the mist to do hit and run strikes against Kakashi. Most missed their mark, of course, but the missing Nind got a few cuts and slashes on the leaf jounin, and they would eventually catch up to the man before long. Kakashi himself had nicked a few places on Zabuza too, but still not enough to do any real harm to the former swordsman of mist, and they both knew it. As for Sasuke, he was looking like a pin cushion right about now, as Haku was throwing Senbon after Senbon made of ice at him, and victory seemed certain for the female ice user had the Uchiha not unlocked his bloodline. It gave the young genin a means to start deflecting them with a kunai, even after the girl used her demonic ice mirrors she had created thanks to her bloodline, and could strike from all angles at him. She tried to be sympathetic to Sasuke, explaining this was not personal, and that it would be over soon. Sasuke, however, did not want Haku's sympathy, threw it back in her face, calling the ice user as weakling, and the perfect whore to be used for reviving his clan. "You won't beat me. I'm an Uchiha. An elite. You're nothing.
Just an orphan from a land of backwater morons that hates freaks like you, said Sasuke before he was struck by another wave of sunbon needles and was making him very angry.
And yet here you are on your knees.
You don't look like an elite shinobi right now, said Haku, as she saw Sasuke's Sharingan eyes glaring at her, and knew he wanted to use every bit of his power to destroy her.
Shut up. When this is over, you're going to be my baby-making bitch back home, and there is nothing you can do to stop me, said Sasuke, as he had always wanted a strong woman to revive his clan ever since the councils had decided to support him until he was ready to become Uchiha clan head while guiding him in a manner they felt was fitting of an Uchiha. The councils had felt they needed a strong Uchiha clan head, one with the belief he was invincible, could do anything, and basically become the pre-verbal macho guy. That all a woman or women of his clan would be good for was the submissive role of the housewife regardless of how strong they were. It didn't help that the vast majority of the councils were men with a few women on it having daughters, who they felt could be used to be connected to such a clan, and further strengthen themselves in the political arena through blood ties. Unlikely. I would rather die than become your sexy toy.
I would do everything in my power to make sure no children of your blood came from me, said Haku, as she struck him again, and again with sunbon needles with a sharp elbow to the Uchiha's nose at one point during a moment of intense agonizing pain for him that caused the boy's eyes to close.
You broke my nose,
said Sasuke, as he held it, and had to quickly resetting it.
So? You expect me to go easy on you because you're an Uchiha?
Said Haku, taking his surprise that she actually broke his nose like it was a joke and taunted him as such. Her intention to taunt him further, however, ended when the sound of chirping birds was heard through the mist, and Haku turned her head to see Zabuza being held by group of dog summons. Kakashi meanwhile had his right fist filled with lightning and prepared to strike the pinned missing Nin through the heart. Abandoning her enemy for Zabuza's, Haku moved quickly, a plan already forming in her mind, and moved to intercept the attack meant to end her master's life.
So, this is my end. Dying at the hands of Hatake Kakashi.
I guess it's better than facing an execution at the hands of the Mizukage, I suppose, thought Zabuza, seeing Kakashi ready with the lightning jutsu and bracing for the brief charge forward.
Goodbye, Zabuza.
I told you before, Zabuza, I had foreseen your death, and this is further proof I have.
Chidori,
said Kakashi before charging forward intent on slaying the man with one strike. Or rather, he would have if not for Haku freeing Zabuza from the dog summons and taken the Chidori right to the chest. Zabuza, said Haku, as she held onto Kakashi with the last of her strength, and Zabuza grinned behind his bandages.
Thanks, Haku.
You're proving to be a useful tool, said Zabuza, as he found himself free, and enough strength to swing his sword at Kakashi. Kakashi himself rolled out of the way with Haku still attached and had thrown her off of him so she wouldn't be a distraction to him any longer. However, before the fight could even continue, the mist cleared around them, and everyone was surprised to see Gato standing on the far side where the bridge was incomplete, and with a small army of fully fresh samurai thugs ready to destroy the exhausted or wounded shinobi in front of them. Well, Zabuza, I see you've gotten yourself into quite the fix here with these leaf shinobi, and I also see the little ice bitch over there currently doesn't have your back right now. To be honest, Zabuza, I never wanted to pay you anything, and never planned to in the first place. Shinobi is so high priced these days, whether from a village or missing Nin. It's just so much easier and cheaper for a businessman like myself to simply hire guys like these to get the job done, said Gato while motioning to his thugs, who were all grinning at the sight of fresh targets, and a chance to make names for themselves.
Bastard!
Did your advisor Darth Sage suggest it to you, or did you leave him out of the loop on the idea? Said Zabuza with Kakashi narrowing his eyes at Gato since the man wasn't known to have any such advisor with him, and the name of this advisor made the hairs on the back of his head stand on end.
He suspected I would. Business is business, I'm afraid, and you weren't earning your pay.
Had you done your job correctly on the first try with the Demon Brothers, we wouldn't be having this little conversation, and I wouldn't have had to take such measure to recollect on my poor investment, said Gato, seeing Zabuza glaring holes at him. Everyone being completely unaware the man was merely a puppet and the puppeteer was hiding in the shadows.
Like all Sith do. Come on, Zabuza. Take the bait. Your pride and honor will not allow Gato's backstabbing on the contract to go unpunished, thought Darth Sage, as he smiled moments later at the sight of Zabuza doing what the Sith knew he would, and go right after Gato. Seeing this as the perfect moment to strike, Darth Sage moved from his position to where Haku was located, and quickly scooped her up before vanishing seconds later undetected by the distracted group of shinobi. It wouldn't take a genius to realize someone had come for Haku, as her injury was not something a normal person could walk away from, and even the girl's bloodline limit did not possess the power to sustain her life. Once the Sith got a safe distance from Bridge, he turned to watch the end result of Zabuza's rampage through the thugs in order to get at Gato, and smiled at seeing the demon of the bloody mist achieve what he wanted in killing the corrupt businessman before collapsing soon after from his injuries. Zabuza-sama, said Haku, as she had been fading in and out of consciousness with blood flowing from the side of her mouth. I require your help with saving her, my masters, thought Darth Sage, as he got a safe distance from the bridge, and without any potential interference on what he was now preparing to do. Very well. Call upon the powers of the dark side, my apprentice. Only then will you have the power to save her life, said Plagueis, as he saw the hole in the woman's chest, and knew her heart had practically been destroyed. Her only hope now was the power of the dark side to rebuild the heart and then Kyuubi's chakra to close the wound. Stretching out with the force, Darth Sage called upon the dark side to aid him in this matter, as he focused it into Haku's body, feeling Plagueis within the back of his mind weaving his power around the destroyed heart of Haku, and preventing the girl's death. Manipulating the force further, Plagueis used his mastery over the dark side to wield it through his apprentice to make the destroyed organ regrow itself, and Kyuubi gathering his power to extend through Darth Sage to close the wound when finished. When it was finished, Darth Sage used the force to get the blood out of Haku's lungs, as she held on tight to him while he did that, and the events at the bridge slowly came back to her mind. Zabuza-sama is dead, isn't he? Said Haku, as she saw him nod, and then put on a hand on her head before showing what he witnessed on the bridge. He died in a manner befitting his reputation, said Darth Sage, as he saw the girl crying now at his words, and then looked up at him. I assume the deal we made together is still valid? Said Haku, as she spoke in an almost desperate voice, and the young Sith nodded. Of course, my dear, said Darth Sage in a soothing voice, as he caressed her cheek, and she leaned into it. When I served Zabuza-sama, I was his tool to throw away when he saw fit, and even though I performed my duty to protect him, I failed in the end. As your tool, I will not fail you, Sage-sama, and will do anything you ask of me, said Haku, as she rose from the ground, and Darth Sage followed before the girl put her mask back on, though she did little to hide her exposed breast. Good. Because I am a very demanding master. Far more than your previous one, said Darth Sage in a commanding voice that made Haku nod immediately. Not that the Sith apprentice would care about the various sexual areas of the female body or the possible sensations one felt from the pleasure of the flesh from the opposite gender on account of his dedication and training to become a Sith Lord. Motioning her to follow, the two made their way to Gato's base of operations, which in truth was now legally the property of Darth Sage, and pointed her to a room where she could acquire some form of temporary clothing before resting to recover her strength. While that happened, the Sith in training went into meditative position, and reached out to the Force to show him the current state of things at Tazuna's home. As expected, Tazuna was celebrating Wave Country's victory over Gato, but at the same time mourning the loss of Leaf Shinobi, who had died defending his home and family while he was at the bridge. Kakashi remained skeptical about Sai dying, but had no way to disprove it given the lethal injuries on the boy's body were done by a sword, and these two dead thugs had swords with the smell of blood on them. However, Darth Sage knew the Jounin was still suspicious, and questioned Tsunami further with Inari right beside her with the clear intent to spill what he knew to the Leaf Shinobi. The young Sith couldn't have that. Reaching the boy's mind, Darth Sage waited calmly, as Tsunami told Kakashi the lie she had spent making up word for word about how Sai saved her and Inari from Gato's two goons. He had to admit, the woman was a good liar, most likely motivated in a sense that should things go badly in being caught, her family would pay the price at the mysterious robed figure's hands, and thus Tsunami lied her heart out to Kakashi. Of course, it was clear the Jounin didn't believe her story in its entirety, given a few facts he knew stood out, and saw Inari knew something. It was then Darth Sage struck. You will tell them nothing. Do you understand me, child?
said Darth Sage while the boy froze for a moment just when Kakashi asked him about Sai fighting the two hired thugs.
What? I know that voice. It's you!
You were the kid from earlier who killed that Genin and Gato's thugs.
Thought Inari while trying to figure out why he couldn't speak out loud. Correct.
Seems you're not as dumb as you look, kid.
Don't bother trying to speak. I'm not going to let you.
Besides, telling them you have someone talking inside your head would generally make people think you deserve to be locked up in a loony bin, and you're much too young for that, said Darth Sage while Inari frowned while Kakashi wondered why the boy wasn't answering his questions.
You can't keep this up forever.
The moment you're unable to stop me from speaking to the Jounin about what really happened, I'm telling him everything, and then he'll hunt you down.
Thought Inari with Darth Sage letting out a chuckle. Oh really?
If that's the case, then your mother and grandfather will have to die, said Darth Sage sensing the boy stiffen again with fear in his eyes.
Are you all right, Inari?
You seem off today, said Kakashi before Tsunami went over to smother her son with love. I'm sure the battle was overwhelming for him to his mind and it's finally caught up to the rest of him, said Tsunami trying to deflect the Jounin away from questioning her son.
You wouldn't really kill them, would you? Thought Inari while hearing the Sith chuckle again in his ear. You think I won't? You threatened to expose me to them, boy.
You are very lucky I don't give the old man a heart attack or your mother a crippling stroke right now with my power. I can't have any loose ends preventing me from completing my objectives, and your constant desire to make me known to the Leaf is making you a loose end.
And an annoying one at that,
said Darth Sage with a dark edge to his tone.
Please don't.
They're all I've got left, thought Inari, as the image of his grandfather dying, and then his mother falling ill soon flooded his mind thanks to the Sith talking to him inside his own head.
I am well aware of that fact.
So here is what you are going to do.
You are going to keep your mouth shut about me.
You so much as speak either word of my name to the Jounin and your family will be destroyed. You will watch as they die slow and horrible deaths while you are powerless to escape the sight of it, said Darth Sage as his voice boomed in the boy's mind like thunder from the skies above and made Inari flinch at his words.
I won't tell anyone.
Just please don't hurt them, thought Inari, as he was being guided upstairs to his room by Tsunami, and barely hearing her command to get some sleep.
Good boy. Just keep your mouth shut and those you cherish will live.
Besides, it was through my manipulations that Gato died on the bridge, and your country is free of him, said Darth Sage while Inari was surprised the Sith had betrayed his boss.
Why? Why betray Gato?
Thought Inari, as he sat on his bed, and heard the Sith laugh slightly at him.
Why not?
He had no real power outside of his money, and there are some people that can't be bought with it.
No.
The only real power is, well, power. You're too young to understand, kid, because you were never taught by someone with it.
I have, said Darth Sage with Inari clearly not understanding. But what do you gain from having Gato killed? Thought Inari while almost seeing the wicked smile on the older kid. Simple. Everything Gato owned, I now own.
His entire company now belongs to me, as his sole heir to the company, which I had him draw up and sign before his death, said Darth Sage in a smug-like voice.
You mean Gato's company is now yours?
So, we just got rid of one bad guy for another, thought Inari with Darth Sage chuckling slightly. I'm not such a bad guy once you get to know me, kid, said Darth Sage before using the Force to make the boy sleep on his bed and then went to work on the kid's mind so he would lie easily to the Leaf Jounin.
Most impressive, my student.
I've clearly taught you well, said Plagueis seeing his Sith apprentice smirking. Thank you, my master, thought Darth Sage, as he entered what was once Gato's office, and took the documents lying there into his hands before putting them away in his person after sealing them away in his storage scroll.
Things were coming along nicely. That's it for this reading.
Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfiction.
Looking forward to having you on board again.